Hi everyone, my name is Sibusiso, your host. My book story. Today we have a very wonderful guy. His name is Sibusiso Theledi. Most of us, we find ourselves in a crossroad in different things, and then we have to make different choices. And the guy today is going to share with us about the power of choices. Welcome, Mr. Sibusiso. Thanks for coming to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
How are you doing, man?
I cannot complain. Yeah. I'm good.
No, you're one of the guys that I look up to, and I've been following you, and I've seen the things that you are doing, and I'm happy for our viewers today that they will get they will learn a lot from you. So, but before we go any further, just tell us, where are you coming from? Where did it all begin?
So, Sibusiso Theledi, basically born and raised in White River in the province of Mpumalanga.
Okay.
I grew up there in a family of 6. Did my primary schooling there, did my high schooling there, and then left to Gauteng. Came to the University of Pretoria to study accounting.
Okay.
Finished my studies in accounting, and I started working in the accounting space in Johannesburg.
Okay.
And I've stayed here ever since. It's been quite a journey, but yeah.
Okay. And can you give us a picture of what was happening in Mpumalanga, and share with us the young guy, the young guy who grew up in Mpumalanga, what was happening, the boy you were and the man you are today?
Wow. So, I grew up in the villages, it's a very, your small villages, typically not much resources, not much knowledge, not much happening, not much life happening there. So you're growing up as a boy, not really having so much of dreams or believing that you can achieve much in life.
Okay.
Because your scope of life is limited to what you see, and there's not much life happening where you are.
Yeah.
And then went to high school. I had the privilege of having someone who saw basically what I could become without me seeing it.
Wow.
So basically what happened was, when my dad passed away, my high school principal decided to be my mentor and play the father role in my life. So he was a high school principal and he was a pastor at the same time, so he was very strong spiritually.
Okay.
So he was one person that basically took me under his wing, and he pushed me. He pushed me so much so that I think in my high school, I became the first student to actually make it to university.
Wow.
In my neighborhood, became the first one to make it to university. And he basically forced me to believe. He pushed me to believe. He would push me. And I remember even going to university. The first day going to university, I literally had like 400 bucks in my pocket, and I was admitted to register. I had no registration fee, I had nothing. I had like 400 bucks, literally. And then go to university, he took me to the dean of students and said, here's a boy, he's done well at school and he's been admitted, but he's got no money. So they just left me there.
Wow.
And I had to find my way. The dean of students allowed me to register. Obviously got your NSFAS, because I couldn't get a bursary, but I got NSFAS. And then you studied there and until I graduated.
Wow.
So in terms of the picture, you've got a boy who grows up with no hope, no dreams, and then to a person who comes to this city of life called Gauteng, the city that never sleeps, where everything is happening, where there's so much to do, there's so much to achieve. And sitting where I am today, looking backwards, the life that I'm living, I never even dreamt of it. I never even imagined it.
Wow. And most of the time, we find ourselves in a certain environment, and that environment inspires the person you are. And then you, like, moving from the township or a village to the city of gold. And right now, I'm sitting with you. You're an author. You are an entrepreneur, and you're an accountant. Can you share with us, like, how much influence, the principal who you said he pushed you to be the man that you are today, like, how much of his influence do you still have within you?
Well, look, The first thing is environment does shape you.
Yeah.
The environment that you're in does shape you. And part of the thing that I get to write about in the book is that as well, even the choices that you make are also influenced by the variables and the environment that you're in. Yeah. That's the first thing. The second thing is, having someone like that who, he doesn't take no for an answer. Okay. His belief system is crazy. It's like out of this world. Because like I'm saying, you're only believing for small things. You're just thinking, okay, finishing my matric, I'm just going to work as a cashier or, as a security guard. And there's nothing wrong with that. What I'm saying is you are limited to that kind of exposure. Yeah. Okay. And then here's this person that says, you can do it. You can do it. It's possible. It's possible. So the truth of the matter is that I think I carry his spirit with me. He's still alive. Paul Dibakwane. But I carry his spirit with me because what has since happened with that is that this is one of the reasons I have in the space where I also want to do the same thing. Okay. This is one of the reasons now I help others, I push others, I inspire others, because it's basically a flow through of what I have received and I'm just letting it flow. I'm almost like a vessel, So most definitely it has shaped me. The beauty of being able to achieve something for yourself is that it becomes easier to show other people that it can be done when you have experienced it yourself. Whereas if it's a concept that you just took from somewhere, but you never really lived it yourself, sometimes it becomes difficult because there's sometimes that conflict of saying, but I'm not legitimate in what I'm saying, So most definitely he's shaped me. Like I said, I still carry his spirit.
Oh, that's powerful. And I read on the book, there's a part where you speak about personal development, and I've seen, especially in the field that the writing field and the entrepreneurship, how much does one need of personal development? Can I say now that I've developed myself enough, or it's something that he has to do every day? And before you answer that, can you explain to my viewers what is personal development according to Sibusiso Theledi?
Okay, so look, in simple terms, right? You talk about personal being the person, the you, yes. And then you're saying development. Yes. So basically, what we're saying is, how are you developing yourself as a person? Okay. My belief is many a times we look at people from their positions or from what they are responsible for, but we never look at building the wholeness of the person as an individual. Okay. What I mean by that is, if you are developed enough as a person and you are the right person within you, I can plug you in any decaying situation. You will survive just fine because you are whole. Okay. But the problem we have is that we always look at people from the outside or external. Yeah. And the person is not built up internally. The wholeness of the person is not built up, is not developed, there's no maturity within the person. Well, you take that person, you plug them anywhere. Instead of them being solutions and making the environment better than they found it, they make it worse. So my understanding of personal development in simple terms is developing the person that you are to a point of wholeness. Okay. Then you can split it to say personal development were in career, personal development in your relationships, personal development spiritually. You can break it down on those elements, but it still talks about the person. It still talks about the individual. Okay. That's the way I see it. You ask a question, does it stop? You can never be developed enough. Life is progressive. Okay. I know we have this belief that Mama, I've made it. I don't believe Mama, I've made it is a statement that you make to say this is it. I've made it in this element. I've achieved this goal. I've achieved this dream. I've made it up this milestone. But you need to continuously develop as a person. As an author myself, I continuously develop myself. I'm attending training. I'm reading the books constantly. I've got mentors. I've got coaches. I'm constantly learning and developing myself because life is progressive and you need to grow with life and move with it. Yeah. Otherwise, you will still be stuck.
And I like what you are saying, that life is progressive, because most of the time we think that we've arrived. Like if I'm living in a certain neighborhood, driving a certain car. But let's go back to the book, the crossroad. I believe, you would correct me, I believe that most people, if not everyone, they found themselves in different kind of crossroad. And can you share with us, according to the book, the kind of crossroad that you have found yourself in, and the one that you have overcome, and the one that you are still working on that?
Yeah, well, look, so like I said, crossroad is it's a part of our life that we basically encounter pretty much on a daily basis. It could be small crossroads, it could be big, depending on the space that you find yourself in. But I think for me, generally my life has been, a series of crossroads, coming from, for instance, the upbringing, the way I grew up, the way I was conditioned, the environment that I was in, the belief systems that I grew up with, which then made me or inspired me to make certain choices and certain decisions. Basically, some crossroads I created myself by making the wrong decisions.
Okay.
Some of them you create by fear. You know what you need to do, but you're scared, and you stall, and you end up finding yourself in trouble. But I mean, for example, just practically, one, I remember when I was going to university, because of, when you grow in such a poverty-stricken environment, that when you get an opportunity to go do something. I remember, now that I think about it, when I left, literally when I was catching a taxi to come to Pretoria. As I'm at the taxi rank waiting for a taxi, my sister comes to tell me that my older sister has passed away. I think it was a Tuesday, right? Now you are in there to say, okay, I just told you I've got like $400 in my pocket. My sister just passed away, but this is my opportunity to go. I need to be at the university the next day to register. What do you do?
Yeah.
That's a crossroad. I literally had to stop and say, no, I'm going. Literally didn't attend my sister's funeral. But I took the taxi and I went to Pretoria to study. So that's a crossroad. That's a minor crossroad that you go. Why I say that is someone else can say, okay, look, it's my sister. It's noble that I go back home. But what that means is that you miss registration. That means the whole year you are not studying, and that means you might never even get an opportunity to study.
You're missing everything.
Then it's a mess. For me, because I was able to get the degree, right, that has opened doors for me from a career point of view, from the business point of view. The things that I do, I'm able to do also because I've got the education that's behind being able to empower me to do the things that I do.
Yeah.
That's one. But fast forward, like I said, after having, climbed the corporate ladder, to a position where I was a financial executive in one of the corporate companies, I actually went through a massive ordeal where, I basically lost everything, hit rock bottom. Lost the house, lost the cars, broke up with the mother of my 2 kids, and I lost them. Sure. But more importantly, I lost myself in the process. It's a whole lot of things that happened, but I lost myself. Living in a comfortable house, comfortable home with a good family, to go sleep on the floor.
Yeah.
To go sleep on the couch. So at that time, it's a space where you messed up mentally, you messed up emotionally. And because of the environment that you are in, where there's not many people that you can go to that can help you proper, you can't even go ask for help. You can't even really talk to people. So what you do is you put this facade. You know what I mean? I put a suit and a tie and I go to work and I'm leading an organization, but deep down I'm a mess. Deep down I'm broken, And to a point where some people commit suicide, they take their lives because they thought the voice that's come to say, you are useless.
So,
So that's the part where you have to make a choice.
Sure.
Do I stay down and die? Or do I rise? That's a crossroad for me. That for me was the biggest crossroad I would call. Because now I have to make a choice. Forget the fact that I don't have nothing, I don't have the resources. But because I think the beauty of it is knowing that I have come from, I grew up in an environment where I had nothing and managed to build something for myself. Then the belief that's come to say, you've done it before. It's different, but you can do it again.
Yeah.
So that's a crossroad, but that's a choice. Do you stand up and fight, or do you give up? Do you drown yourself in alcohol, or do you give up? Do you seek, solace in the comfort of wrong woman? Or, you get my point? Or do you rise? Do you dust yourself up and say, oh fine, I messed up. I made some big mistakes. I messed up. And in fact, the position that I'm in, I'm a mess. But this is not the end of my story. This is just a journey. So that's where the choices come in.
So, and thanks for sharing such a story, because most of the time people don't share those kind of stories. But I just want to help someone out there who's listening to this podcast or who's watching this podcast. If you can give like 3 points or three things that you did that help you to recover, or that change your mindset, that where you understand, actually I'm a mess now, then I have to be honest and change my life. But what made you to come to that conclusion, and what are the 3 things that you did to recover?
Okay, I think first of all, in my case, right, I already had people that were my responsibility.
Okay.
You know, I mean, I already have 2 kids at the time. I'm the one. I've got my mother at home that I'm looking after. You know, I have my siblings that I'm looking after. So the thing about it is that being in that space, losing myself, did not take away the responsibility that I had. So I think the first thing was, one, to understand that no matter where I found myself, no matter the circumstances, it didn't matter. And it was not their fault. They needed to eat.
Yeah.
So like I said, I lost myself and I went to this space, but at some point I had to face the reality to say, how do I look at my child? As a mess as I am, what do I say to them? How do I look at them? And also remember, if I don't come out, what then happens to them? Because the decision that I'm making right now will influence how they'll turn out. So that is for me, I think the key thing was sitting back and saying, but you are a father. And I had to find myself because of the kids.
Wow.
That is the one thing. What did I do? The beauty of being in a crossroad, what I always find is that it's got a tendency of isolating you from the crowd.
Okay.
A lot of people are scared of isolation. A lot of people are scared of being alone.
Yeah.
Call it a pit. But the beauty of the pit is that it forces you to be by yourself and do some reflections and do some proper thinking, right? Where you can start looking at things for what they are, not what you hope they would be.
Okay, yeah.
When I said that I'll go to work with a suit and a tie and put this facade that I've got it all together, that was me living a fake life.
Yeah.
But when I was back in that room, sleeping on the floor by myself in the middle of the night, I was on my own. So what it forced me to do, one, is reflections. To really start to say, okay, fine. How did I get here? Who am I? What did I do? What do I need to do? So that's the most important thing, reflections.
Oh.
That's very important for me because it doesn't matter who you are or where you are in life. If you're not willing to reflect and really, really discover or come to the consciousness of where you are and how you got there and how you're going to get out, you will be stuck for life. So the first thing is that. The second thing is to seek for help. Because now that I can see where I am, and the one thing that I've come to realize is that I can't do this thing on my own. The reason I'm where I am is because I tried to do things on my own, in my own strengths, and I thought I was smart, and I thought I was educated, and all these things. I allowed pride and ego to get in the way. So now I'm realizing, okay, on my own, it's a mess. So what do? I need help. So that's the second thing. You seek help. But for me personally, the big influence that happened to me is that God found me. I know a lot of people say, I found God, I found Jesus. In my case, he found me.
Okay.
I didn't go looking for him. He found me. And that, for me, was a big turnaround. Because when I say he found me, it was basically coming to the consciousness of saying, I say I'm a mess, but there's someone that's willing to accept me, even with the mess that I am, even with the mistakes that I've done. I can't hide anything from him. He knows everything that I've done.
Wow.
And even with that, he still come after me and he accepts me. So that was a big turnaround. Because if he could accept me, then maybe I could do some things that would mean if my parents had already rejected me based on the space that I am, I could do something and be accepted back. So what I mean by that is when I say many times we hide our messes, we hide our mistakes, but what we don't understand also is that it allows you to learn about who you are. It actually makes you discover what you're made out of.
Sure.
So 3 things for me, definitely reflections. 2, seek help.
Seek help.
In seeking help, even though I say in my case a big thing was finding God, right? It's action.
Action.
The third point for me is you need to take action. It doesn't matter how small it is. but you need to take action. I'm not a person who believes in gigantic steps. I'm not the, I know you say dream big, go big or go home. I'm more for think big, but start small. Take small steps.
Yeah. And another thing, you are big when it's come to relationships. I've spent time with you, and I've seen how you spoke about your wife and how you treat your wife. But now I just want you to share, because I think there are other two most critical crossroads that most people find themselves, is relationships and finances. And for those guys who are listening to us, what advice do you have for them when it comes to financial and relationship based on your book?
Look, I think generally, right, what I've always found and what has always been my experience, in fact, a big part of it has been my experience, whether it's money or relationships, a big part of it is dishonesty. I think, one, we are not honest with ourselves. Okay. We have not been put in an environment where we learned and we were taught to be honest with ourselves. Now, the problem with that is the minute I bring someone else into the picture, but I'm not honest with myself, how am I going to be honest with the next person? And how am going to create an environment where you can be honest with me? And how does it impact relationships? Let's look at this from this perspective. Majority of relationships struggle because the mere foundation of the relationship was based on lies. Right? And I like to be practical, I mean, you meet a girl in a club or, in a restaurant and you see her. And you know what you want when you see her.
Yeah.
Like you just know.
Yeah.
But you can't just walk up to her and say, hi, hey, this is what I want from you. Right? So even if I didn't want to date the person, and sometimes you just see a person and you're thinking, okay, all I want is to take her home and spend the night with her.
Yeah.
But now you have to try, the system is designed that now you have to flirt with her, try to be nice to her. Now fake to be in love with her or to be interested in her, and you know that all you needed was a body.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, some relationships starts like that. And then in the process, maybe something does develop. But it was based on a lie. Because remember, here's the problem. If you know that to get what you want, you needed to lie, when do you begin to say, okay, right, let's stop the lies. Now let's be honest with each other. This is what I want. What do you want? That's the one thing. Honesty is key. The second thing is understanding self. Because the other problem is, and I'm talking about money and relationships, right? One of the reasons, for instance, we struggle with finances is because we want to portray this life that we have achieved, even though deep down we know we have not achieved it. That's dishonesty. You're not honest enough with yourself to say, look, it's fine, I don't need to drive a German toy. It's fine, I really don't need to rent that apartment in Sandton. I can rent the house in the township, I can stay there while I'm building myself up. I really don't need to dress the designer labels because this is the level that I'm at, but I'm not going to end here. That's honesty. Understanding self, that's where your self-esteem and your self-confidence comes in. To say, okay, before I can be in a relationship, before I can understand you as a person, do you understand me?
Yeah.
For me, that's key. Because the problem is, if I don't understand me, I'm then going to try and seek validity from you. I'm then going to try and find happiness from you. You can't give me happiness unless I can give me myself. I can be happy by myself.
Wow.
So for me, definitely the honesty part, and then again, a lot of people say communication, and I say, well, yeah, we understand communication, but you can't talk about communication if you can't talk about honesty.
Yeah, if you're honest, what are you communicating?
Because the communication part, if I can't really tell you my heart, if I can't really look at you and say, look, fine, I love you, but right now you're out of order. And I think the funny part that I always find is that, you know what we always do? For instance, as a guy, because you've been told that, for instance, okay, my wife is a weaker vessel, and because I love her and whatnot, when she makes things that displeases me or literally that pisses me off, instead of addressing this thing to say, listen, you are doing this and I don't like it, I actually have to find a way, choose my words correctly. I have to refine what I'm saying such that by the time I actually does tell it to her, it's no longer what I meant. Yeah. And you don't understand why she might keep on doing it. Because we can't tell the truth.
Yeah.
You know what? Honesty is key. For me, if you can just stay at honesty.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter where you go. I mean, it doesn't matter which part of life, whether it's at work, whether it's even with God. Honesty is key. But understanding self, it's also much more important. Because understanding self also says, I'm able to say no to the things that don't serve me.
Yeah.
I don't need to be in places where I don't need to be because I understand myself. And now my choices are already shaped because I know, okay, great. If I come across something that I know does not line up with my values, the choice has already been made. I'm not going to do this.
You know, this was one of the most interesting interviews that I had because you touch so many basic things, but that makes a lot of impact in our lives. I know that you are a speaker, you are an MC, you are an author. If my viewers want to get hold of you, how can they get hold of you?
Well, my name is Sibusiso Theledi. So I think that's my name in Facebook. That's my name basically in all the social media space, Instagram, Twitter. But also my website is just sibusisotheledi.co.za.
And you write powerful blogs. Can you share with my viewers like the...
So I think for me, like I said, right, the life is quite interesting for me. You know, I find that we are in a space where we like to entertain people, where we like to fit in, you know, where we like to go with the trends. And I'm not that person, you know. So when I blog, many a times my blogs is basically the conversations that I have with people because I like to have real conversations. Yeah. So on my website, I basically got a blog tab where I just dump blogs there around these kind of conversations that I feel like, you know, we not openly have, or even within the passages, you know. Like I said, I mean, the one that I wrote on was a mask off, which is basically saying, can we all just remove our masks and be ourselves? Yeah. You know, an interesting one that I wrote, which was, well, it was the demand and supply of gold diggers, you know, and that was a hit because it's like, I was, you know, we've always painted women as gold diggers. And I went and said, hang on. But it's us men who actually went and created this demand and then created an environment for a supply. So it is us men that needs to do away with this thing, you know. So I just blog about that. One of them I said is a pregnant man, you know, which we know when a woman is pregnant, we know what to do. But there's no way where when guys, if my wife says she's pregnant, I have no fucking clue what to do, where to go, who to talk to. Even people that already have children. If I go to them and say, what do we do? They can't help me. And it became one of the biggest hits. So, you know, I just blog about whatever that I feel that it's not being covered in the space. The space. Okay,
I'll give you 60 seconds just to summarize, because everything that you shared, it is, viewers can find it in the book, but I'll give you 60 seconds just to sell your book to them.
Look, I think for me, like I said, right, every day, all of our lives, we make choices.
Yeah.
Right. Each and every choice that you make has an outcome or a consequence. Whether you like it or not, whether you are conscious to it or not, is irrelevant. Yeah. And the way I look at this, for me, the way I see it is many a times when you look at our lives, we look at the outcome or we look at the harvest. Yeah. And that is actually wrong, because if I've got mango trees at home and the mangoes are rotten, I can't influence them. Yeah. It's too late. Choices to me are like seeds sown. So what I'm saying is on a daily basis, you sow seeds. Yeah. And that is where we are really powerful, because if you understood the kind of choices that you are making and you understood the outcome that you want, so if you understand what you want to achieve, you can go back and say, okay, looking at the choices that I make on a daily basis, am I sowing seeds that will give me that outcome? In each and every different phase of life. Because if I can do that, I can influence it. If I want to harvest apples, I can't go sow orange seeds. If I want to have a good relationship with my wife, I can't sow hatred and ignorance, you know. So what I did in this book is I've looked at the different segments of life, being, you know, your own personal choices, your personal relationships, your personal finances, your personal development, your spirituality, you know, to say, what are the choices that you're making today? Understand that, but more importantly, it's not just the choice. What are the variables that you have? Because the other mistake we make is that we assume that people are in the same level. Yeah. But when I make the choice that I make, it will be different from you because my variables are different, my circumstances are different. So based on the circumstances and the environment that I'm in, what choices or what seeds am I sowing here to be able to get what I want? And that covers then the person, as I'm talking about building the person to a point of wholeness. So I cover all the different segments of life. Wow. Of course, breathing my experience into it and the wisdom that you do. Wow.
Okay, guys, this is a very interesting book because everyone, you have to make a choice every day, and I believe that you are somehow at a certain crossroad that you need to make a choice and make sure that you find yourself in a better position. As I said in the beginning, this is my book story. So today we're checking the story of Mr. Sibusiso Theledi. Make sure that you connect with him, find him on Facebook, and check his website and check his blog because he's a great writer, and I know you will learn a lot. We are signing out. This is my book story. You'll find us at the Global Conference TV.